In Wednesday's third episode of CBS's Survivor, Ghost Island, the two tribes were shocked to learn that they were about to experience their first shakeup. How were the 18 remaining castaways divided? Who was the next person to be sent to spooky Ghost Island? And were Gold Derby's predictions correct that Jonathan Hurley would be voted out after the tribe swap? Below, check out our minute-by-minute Survivor, Ghost Island recap of Season 36, Episode 3, titled Only Time Will Tell, to find out what happened Wednesday, March 7th. Be sure to sound off in the comments section about your favorite castaway, who annoys you the most, and who you think can go the distance to join the Survivor winners list. Keep refreshing, reloading this page as we'll be updating live, 7:59 p.m. Previously on Survivor, during last week's two-episode premiere, the Malolo tribe lost both immunity challenges and sent home Stephanie Gonzalez and Jacob Derwin. Jonathan also seemed to be on the bottom of that tribe, so tonight's swap could be a blessing in disguise for the Kentucky resident. It's time to find out how the first tribe switch of the season will shake up the game, 8:01 p.m. Following Malolo's second tribal last week, James Lim came back relieved that he escaped the elimination despite being the biggest reason they lost the immunity challenge. 8:02 p.m. Jonathan returns from Ghost Island and right away the two tribes drop their buffs and prepare for the switch. 8:03 p.m. With 18 castaways still in the game, the switch is a straight swap and sticks to two tribes: Malolo, Jenna, Stephanie, Brendan, Michael, Desiree, Sebastian, Kellen, Bradley and Chelsea, Naviti, Dominic, Chris, Jonathan, Libby, Laurel, James, Angela, Wendell and Morgan. Both tribes are comprised of 4 original Malolo and 5 original Naviti. 8:06 p.m. At Malolo, Sebastian Noel is all smile seeing his closest allies from his original Naviti tribe still with him. Brendan Shapiro, however, is bummed and annoyed because he's down 4-5 in terms of original tribes and all the original Naviti members are complaining. 8:08 p.m. At Naviti, all the original Malolo members are pleasantly surprised to come to a nicely set up camp in what Jonathan calls better views. Chris Noble is worried because his allies all got swapped to the other side and he's still with Dominic Abate, a player he doesn't trust very much. Chris tries to bring in Angela Perkins for a plan to work against Dominic, but she reads that as a man barking orders at her and she's not on board. Later, Chris goes to both James and Libby and check with the same game plan and again his behavior is rubbing everyone the wrong way. 8:14 p.m. Knowing they're in the minority, Stephanie Johnson and Jenna Bauman begin looking for an idol at the Malolo camp. Eventually, both Michael Yerger and Brandon begin looking as well and Michael finds one of James Clement's 2 idols from China that he was voted out with. 8:19 p.m. At Naviti, Morgan, Rick and Dominic discuss how dangerous Chris is becoming by wanting to rally against Dominic. With that in mind, Morgan brings Libby in and for Libby the bond happens naturally so it seems like she'll be willing to work with Morgan and Dominic instead of Chris. 8:24 p.m. For this week's Immunity Challenge, the tribes race through an obstacle course with a puzzle at the end. First to finish also wins reward, a tarp for rain protection, and chooses one player from the losing tribe to go to Ghost Island. 8:26 p.m. Malolo gets through the first stage of the course first, but after a few false starts Naviti finishes close behind. At the second stage, Malolo fumbles their lead and allows Naviti to not only catch up but pass them. At the third stage, Chris is a little slower than Sebastian at hooking a ball and rope and the tribes finish even, leaving the puzzle as the deciding factor. 8:29 p.m. On the puzzle, Kellen Bechtold and Bradley Clyheig work together well for Malolo while Wendell Holland and Laurel Johnson struggle. Without much to show for their efforts whatsoever, Naviti loses and Malolo easily wins immunity and reward. Jeff lets the tribes know that their decision must be unanimous and if they can't then the other tribe will draw rocks. The original Naviti want to send Jonathan, but original Malolo refuse to agree, leading to rocks. At Naviti, Chris draws the only white rock and he heads to Ghost Island and has immunity for a tribal it looked like he might go home at. 8:37 p.m. At Ghost Island, Chris seems a little bummed to be missing what he calls a huge tribal council and he hopes that his plan to get Dominic eliminated will still happen. When choosing his clue, he gets a "nope, not today," and misses out on the chance to earn an advantage in the game. 8:39 p.m. Back at camp, Angela decides that she is not going to follow through with the plan Chris had to get rid of Dominic. She talks to Wendell and vows to go to rocks before voting one of her original tribe mates off. Wendell thinks it's sketchy that Angela, as Chris number 2, is refusing to follow through with his plan, so he goes to Morgan, who agrees that keeping Libby instead of Angela is a better plan, showing the original Malolo that they're willing to work with him going forward. Similarly, Dominic speaks to original Malolo members and shows them the fake immunity idol that he had shown Chris. This doesn't sit well with James, and he correctly guesses that he's showing them the fake idol to throw them off his tracks of having a real idol. Smart Cookie, 8:49 p.m. Conversation at Tribal begins with